you're trying to tell me?
I just want people to feel
I'll
warm
get someone
and
to
feel it. And I also want you to you know, rather than just it being talking at you, I just want you to know that I'm open, not necessarily just to having kind of like the workshop or the lecture, or but I first of all want to say thank you for the coffee. And if people can't hear me, I'll try to talk a little bit louder. And so, bonjour, hello. My name is Painted Sky Woman, Gejit Go Abwikwe Dijinkas, Makwa, and the Bear Clan member. I was born and raised in northern Manitoba, Cree ancestry. I've been, there are some people that know me, or know parts of who I am, Alex and Alex. And I've been part of this community in Winnipeg for about three decades, 30 years now. I know that I live in Winnipeg, but my home, where my heart is where my ancestors are resting, and that's in northern Manitoba. First of all, I want to just let you know that I greet all of you, honor all of you. I honor your spirits. I honor your teachings. I honor your ancestors. I honor your medicines, your knowledge, all the things that you bring to our circle. And say miigwech to all of you for inviting me to come tonight. And Alex explained a little bit about some of the discussion, and of course I've been following the discussion of the Occupy movement since it started, since it started this time in a couple months ago in New York. Recognizing that we're on our planet, we're in a time of significant transition, and that's been going on for some time. But I think, you know, from knowing about some of those prophecies and those teachings that we've all been given, knowing that there is that it's intensifying, that we're entering a period of greater intensity as a human family, and this is globally, and we can recognize that in particularly in patterns of our Mother Earth, of our environment, and our people that have those connections continue to tell us that we're living in a time when our Earth is healing, is trying to heal herself, and recognizing that a part of what I believe this movement is all about is people beginning to wake up a little bit, wake up to not only the destruction of the planet, but really the destruction of relationships that we as a human family have, and there are patterns of those patterns have existed here for a long time, and as Indigenous people, we recognize we have been as a people, we have been the victims of an intense oppression as a result of colonization of our country. And I was trying to think of some of the things that the parallels that we could make, and although you can't, these parallels don't follow through in every case, but we know that we know that we are an occupied, and I think that there has been discussions around the terminology and the discourse that's been used around the whole word of occupation, and we are this land is occupied without doubt in any way, and for most Canadians, the we haven't been able to really recognize that or really understand that because I don't think it's because there's any inherent flaws in us individually, but there's such profound flaws in those systems, the education system, all the systems that keep us in systems of oppression, that if we're never, there's been such indeed today, the Minister of what's called Aboriginal and Northern Affairs, apparently at the Truth and Reconciliation conference at that residential school system, which people are just beginning to learn about, in some ways, he said it was a policy gone horribly wrong, but it had nothing to do with a system of genocide, which is a denier of it's a denial of what's been going on here, and so that there's real deep patterns of denial that most settler and descendants of settlers carry about how they came to be here, and there's a lot of mythology that's grown up around that to protect in some ways to hold us in a place or hold people in places of comfort so that they don't get uncomfortable with what's really gone on here, and we even the United Nations, there's a convention on what constitutes a genocide, and one of the elements of that constitution is that the removal of children from their families is one of the elements of how you would recognize a system of genocide. And that's only one thing. We know that, I mean, to me, I look around and I know some of you, because I saw some of you today that came down to the Law Courts building to raise the question about, why Geraldine Beardy died over a can of sport. So there's people that live in complete absolute poverty in their own territories that are killed over a food item, and that this doesn't happen in that particular instance, but it happens frequently on a daily basis in this country, and so we have created these systems in terms of poverty and racism. They're systems of colonization, and then we don't even recognize. We've been so lied to, and so misinformed, and so conditioned, so brainwashed into believing that, and I would say generally most Canadians would believe that, not that Geraldine Beardy had it kind of coming to her for stealing a can of sport, but there's been a real emphasis on blaming the victims of poverty and oppression, and we know that in Canada it's kind of a killing field in some way for Aboriginal women. If you're an Aboriginal woman, you're very vulnerable to intense violence, and nobody, everybody. So, but they kind of, the general public believes that, well, if they weren't in this particular place, or if they weren't doing that particular thing, then they put themselves at risk, without ever examining and reflecting on the on why and how and the reasons that are underneath, why people who live in such vulnerable spaces, they never look at what's underneath that. So we really have been very again, it's conditioned into believing that people are kind of they kind of create their own situations, and we know that when you kind of start examining that. And I give you an example of this fellow in Saskatchewan who I think killed 3 or 4 Aboriginal women, and his name is Crawford. If anybody wants to Google him, Crawford, James Crawford. And he basically said, when they asked him why he did it, he said why he killed these women is because nobody would care. I think that there is a real level, like nobody cares. There's not an outrage, there's not a public outrage when an Aboriginal woman is found missing and murdered. There is not a public outrage when, like the Picton, there's so much evidence out there that people are just so blind to, like the Picton situation that's going on in Vancouver now, and the evidence that's coming out. We know that for Aboriginal people, that one of the manifestations of colonization is that we don't have the same value as human beings as other people. Crawford said, he went hunting for Aboriginal women because nobody would care, and I think that Picton also hunted for Aboriginal women because he knew, and they know that nobody cares. It's not just well, maybe nobody will care. They know what no one will care, and it's so that they're kind of empowered to engage in this activity. Right now, there's 80 Aboriginal missing and murdered women that have not there's been no charges laid, or nobody has been brought to trial in probably 98% of those particular cases. So I talk about killing fields. There's bodies laying, there's bodies all over this country, that of primarily women, but not exclusively women, of Indigenous people. And I think that there's a part in our psyche, in our psychological composition that has developed because of colonized thinking, that we're disposable. We have not achieved